Hi, thank you for joining me today. We're here to talk about Steal Like an Artist, chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4 is Use Your Hands, and chapter 5 is in hobbies. Yes, side projects and hobbies are important. These are two brief chapters, and my main takeaway from these two chapters are kind of reminding us to, one, get back to some basics, and two, give ourselves permission to have outside interests. It's all good. You can do other things, and you should do other things, because these things can help each other out. But starting off with chapter 4, the important main takeaway from chapter 4 is going analog and getting away from your computer screen for a little while. Just wait until this video is over before you do that, however. What you want to do is use your hands, if you can. Step away from the computer, get out paper, use pencils, use pens, use your arms, engage your eyes and your senses, smell the materials you're working with. Kleon talks about his experience writing the books that came out before this, which is the newspaper blackout book. And in that process, and there'll be a link below to the newspaper blackout books. But basically what he's doing is going through and taking words out of a text, sort of like what you see, what he's done here, but in a much more involved way. He would work on a bunch of those, then he would scan them into the computer. So these were all done with an actual marker on paper. He would scan them into the computer, then he could rearrange looking at icons, then print them back out and arrange them again. So he was able to take it, put it into a whole new context on a computer screen, and then look at it as an overview, a bird's eye view, and then also then go back and print it out, put it on paper, and arrange it so that he could come up with the layout for the book. So that's a really interesting way of looking at how we can take our creative work, take it offline, especially in visual arts, take it offline, put it back online, look at it in a totally different context, and then see how it relates back to the actual work. To me, it kind of seems like you're looking at it a different way. A lot of time in art classes, you'll be told to, or it's a suggestion to take your painting and flip it over and look at it upside down, or look at it in a mirror and see it from different angles that you're not used to seeing it. When you've been working on something for a long time, you are so involved with it in a very particular way. To remove it and look at it from a different view is really helpful. So doing a process like Kleon is describing, I think would be really helpful, and something I'm gonna give a try to as well. I haven't done it yet, but it's something, if I'm working on a series of things, I think it would be most beneficial, and that's what I'll try to do. Kleon also talks about the importance of having your digital and your analog life somewhat separated, some sort of a barrier between them. And I think a lot of times we might set up our space where we do our creative work as, we have this amount of space, and so my computer's here, my easel's here, my paints or my paper or whatever else all together. If you can put some sort of a barrier between the two, so you have, this is my computer area, this is my analog, this is my creative, made by hand area, you will be able to keep those separate, and you won't be disturbed by notifications on your Facebook or Twitter or whatever else. You might have notifications pinging that you got an email, you got a like, you got a response, you have a text message. So if you're in your deep work time, you can keep all of that off, keep it away, and move into just your deep work. And then when you're in your computer work, you can concentrate just on that. So he sets up, and there's a picture of it in my blog, which is on artnownotlater.com, and you can take a look at that. It shows a picture from Kleon's blog, where you can see a picture of his studio, which has its digital and its analog areas. And then he gives us some advice to go to the art supply or to the school supply aisle in your grocery store. I suggest going to your dollar store, because you'll get a lot more for, he suggests take $10 and go get some stuff. Get some sticky notes and some pens and markers and tape and glue and things like that. And then you can just play, have craft time, just pretend like you're back in kindergarten, and it's time to just let your creativity and your imagination go and make stuff. And I think that's a great idea, and I think it's something we should all try to do, is put a little more play back into our creative days. Another big part of this theme is using your hands. A lot of studies have been done, mostly regarding students and what you retain by handwriting your notes versus using a computer to write your notes. And because handwriting involves so many different neurological pathways, it involves your arm, it involves your hands, it involves your eyes and your ears. All of these things are involved with note-taking in particular, that you're engaging so many different senses, whereas when you're taking notes on a computer, you are still using many of those senses, but not in as active a way. Because what they found is a lot of people who are taking notes try to transcribe word for word, but when you're using the keyboard. But when you're writing your notes out, you'll often use your own shorthand, you'll add doodles, you'll add all these other things that are going to be keys and triggers in your mind to retain those important bits that you've picked out, rather than trying to transcribe an entire talk. And I know from my own personal experience, it's true, I have tried to do writing on a keyboard, and I walk away from the class not remembering anything, and I have to look at my notes, and then I'm kind of like trying to remember. I haven't been paying attention as much because I've just been trying to be an earpiece and a transcriber rather than being an active member of the class. So that's my own experience, and I feel there's some truth to that, is using your hands and your arms and your eyes and ears is a lot more engaging than interacting with a screen. Back to chapter 5, talking about hobbies and outside activities. That chapter begins with a talk about procrastination, or what Kleon calls practice productive procrastination. And this got me thinking a little bit, so I did some research, and there are many who think that there are ways that you can kind of trick your mind into using procrastination in a positive way. So if you have this big thing you need to do, it's really important, maybe pick a few other things that might seem like they're important, but make your list so that you start with those things and build up to the big important thing. Conversely, in my blog, I've given you some examples from a New York Times article. I won't try to quote here. And then there's a Medium article by a life coach who's suggesting that that's not the right way to do it, that anytime you're not working on the big thing, you are delaying your dreams. And I think I fall somewhere in between the two. It's hard for me to say 100% that I agree with Kleon, or the people who wrote in the New York Times article, or the Medium article. I feel like it's something that's very personal to each person, that you know your limitations, and that if there are kinds of things you can do which are procrastination. If I'm like, I want to paint a floral, a painting, but I don't know where to begin, then I would be smart to do some research. If I'm merely doing research to put off the inevitable, the thing that I really want to do, that I've decided I want to do, then I'm putting it off for the sake of putting it off. So I think every person has to be able to evaluate what's good for them, what is the right way to procrastinate, because I believe we all do. We all do procrastinate, and sometimes when you're doing these other things, I'm also a person who, before I do something, before I sit down and do this video, I have to do the dishes. I have to make sure that other things are not undone. And it's just a thing of mine. Even in college, I would have to, before I could sit down and study, I had to make sure the dishes were done, laundry was accounted for, everything was done. Because if I don't, then I'll be doing my studying, and then I'll be like, I need to do the dishes. So if I get rid of those things, then I don't have those things to worry about. So, but on the other side of that coin is sometimes if you're having trouble getting to something, so let's go back to that flower painting, the floral painting idea, if I'm having trouble, that maybe doing something like doing the dishes or taking a bath or taking a walk might help bring out the inspiration that I need. Some ideas might come to me doing those mundane tasks or doing things that are not related at all, but allow me to get into a different state of mind where I'm not thinking about painting, and sometimes things will come through. And I know that probably happens to everybody. I know it happens to me. So there are ways where you can use these other things, these other habits, other distractions, if you will, to spark your main creative goals. So again, looking back over the 2 chapters, I think it's an idea of giving yourself permission to walk away, turn off your computer. Kind of digital minimalism is a big thing right now, and I really encourage everybody to look into it. It's something I need to work on, and I'm sure a lot of people have the same issue. Using your hands because of the different things that your body and mind are involved in using your hands. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you will also visit Art Now Not Later.